All right, guys, our guest tonight, former WWE superstar. Now he's turned into an indie wrestling sensation. Chris Masters, how you doing tonight, buddy?
I'm doing good, man. Independent wrestling sensation. I love it.
Yeah, listen, we do
Jeez.
not we're balls to the wall here, dude. We got nothing to lose, so we go balls to the wall. Well, let's talk about your indie wrestling because you really do. You work indie shows all over the place. That's why I say that. You've worked more indie shows than most of the big indie names that we've come to love over the years. So talk about your time on the indie scene, what you've learned, and how it's benefited your career.
I've learned a few things. I had my this is my second indie run, but things are much different for me now. I think over the last few years I've really developed work-wise. So it's actually it's fun going out there and seeing the different challenge of guys. Because I've worked some very great talent and then some very poor talent. But the key is at this point in the game for me is being able to pull at least a good, decent, if not good match with anybody. So, there are high points and low points. I've wrestled a lot of good talent in Europe. Christopher Travis was amazing. Lionheart was amazing. Brian Cage, another one. And I really enjoy this side of the business just because it's fun and you don't have the weight of the world on your shoulders like WWE. It's not the constant grind. You don't have to politic your way for a position. It's just really kind of going out there and doing what you love. But it's not a career in the end. I'm making a living, but I'm not getting rich. But at the same token, I'm still getting paid to do what I love to do. So those are just some of the things. And another thing I've noticed is the super kick is the most overused, and it's got to be the most overused thing in the business now. I mean, they just prostitute that thing like it's nothing.
It's true. Every kid who can lift his leg past his waistline has a super kick out there. It's not good. And
Oh, and it's just I'm all about psychology, and sometimes I saw a show 3 weeks ago where I think these two guys, I mean, they were smaller guys, so in essence, it could make sense, but they exchanged super kicks like 3 times before they finally bumped off something else, and I was just like, I could have seen maybe two, but three. Come on, guys, you're freaking. It's like a finish, if not great false finish, at best. Let's not prostitute this thing, but I mean, it's just like what the DDT was, I guess, 5 years ago. Now the super kick's that move.
yeah, it comes in waves. It's always different. But let's keep talking about your indie career for a second there. You talked about how you're trying to break the mold of being the quote unquote body guy. You've worked really hard on getting much better in the ring, and watching matches recently, you have gotten much better in the ring. How much pride do you take in the steps you've made with your in ring career?
Oh, it's everything to me, man. Because the last couple of years in WWE, I was on Superstars, which sucks, but the one benefit is you get a lot of time to work with. So I was able to have 15-minute matches, and I was still on the road constantly. So I really got past that point of your development where you're just thinking in terms of moves and spots and whatnot, and you're really starting to, or at least for myself, understand the art of it, as Bret Hart used to put it, or the, storytelling, which was all stuff that didn't really 100% make sense to me in the very beginning, but it became like a puzzle in pieces too, because Michael Hayes had criticized my selling at one point, and it was kind of the that was like the starting point of a whole new philosophy to me. I went back to the drawing board, and I kind of just forgot about all the wrestling I had watched over my life, and I'd watched it since I was a kid, and I just started thinking in terms of selling how would something actually feel, and in turn, that got me emotionally involved in the moment, and that's such an important thing towards being great. That's what separates, the good from the great, is being able to harness that emotion and that believability and believe it yourself. Because I mean, everybody knows it's a show nowadays, but at the same time, you want to take them out of that. You want to take them kind of on a ride, just like a movie. And it started with the selling, and then it became like a puzzle to me. It's like, how do I make babyface fire organic? How do I not force that? And a lot of that, it just kind of tied together. It was like, just believing in when you're getting your ass whooped by a heel, and then when it's time to make that comeback, believing in every moment of what he's done to you in the past 5 minutes, and then bringing it back with, and harnessing all that emotion and making it real to you.
That's
And
perfect.
it became my comfort place essentially. It became it became that place. I've heard guys describe it where you get in there and you might have 99 problems, but once you get into that ring, I mean, there's just nothing can phase you. It's just everything else just kind of blurs out, and you enjoy that moment. And it really just became my comfort place. I'm no longer. I'm more excited than I am nervous before I go out and work now. Which is good.
Mike Chiari?
Yeah, Chris, you talked a little bit about your most recent run in WWE, and you were obviously mostly on Superstars, and it kind of seemed like they were utilizing you largely in a kind of a comedic gimmick. So now that you're on the Indies and you have kind of more freedom in terms of your character, in terms of what you can do in the ring, does that give you a greater appreciation for the independent scene than you had before?
Well, I think I've always appreciated it. I appreciate all of the guys, especially the guys unlike myself who don't have the TV behind them, who grind it out and drive from town to town and have to deal with different promoters. Because you don't really have much position, of leverage in that standpoint. So I'm very lucky in that aspect. But I've also just come to notice. There's a lot of great talent out there, and it's unfortunate to see that some of them aren't even in WWE at this moment. Because if you were looking for good matches that tell stories and whatnot, there's some great guys in Europe. There's some great guys here in America, and it's been nothing but good so far. This time out, I think I'm about 2.5 years in, and like you guys were saying, I keep pretty busy. But a lot of those matches have been multiple matches with Carlito and some other guys that I've worked with in the past too. So.
BG?
Yeah, Chris, I was just wondering which storyline you're involved in when WWE was your favorite.
Well, of course, working the program with Shawn Michaels, just because he was like my childhood hero. That was like almost the equivalent to me of winning the world championship in my book, just because, obviously for the record books, it would be nice to say you're a former world champion, but I'm just really glad I got to work him before he retired, and I was able to just kind of break into that generation before a lot of those guys essentially either went on the TNA or some retired. It was a very different landscape when I got there for my first stint as opposed to my second stint in WWE. Is just most of the guys when I came around the second time were guys who had started in the business after me, which was kind of crazy. But I think that explains a lot about kind of why wrestling is where it is. I think over the last couple of years, they've lost a lot of guys with equity and that have built, the fans have built relationships with over the years. And, it takes time, and hopefully they can get that back and, put on a more, just not a focus on the main events and make the whole card, everybody's storylines worthwhile.